episode 67 of Fist of the North Star, 1 point. The keyword for this episode is going to be mirror. In this episode, concerning this episode in this video, I'd like to develop why I think 𝚎𝚎 is Kenshiro's mirror, in my opinion. There are three things I want to say. The first is going to be much quicker. I'm mainly going to develop on the second and quickly mention the third, and you'll see why. So the first thing I want to say is how, of course, Kenshiro is supposed to be the strongest man of the Hokuto, the successor, and 𝚎𝚎 is the emperor. So we have this, it should be this final confrontation between the Hokuto and the Nanto. This is what we get. So these are two special fellas who are finally against each other. This is one. But then two, and this is where you'll see the mirror thing, is that Kenshiro fights for love. 𝚎𝚎 𝚿𝚎𝚅, he says, right? But 𝚎𝚎 fights against love. He says 𝚎𝚎, I believe so. It's everything is because of love. One of his first lines in the anime is, "I'm the emperor, I don't need love and compassion." Here's a quick nice thing. All of those kids that he's enslaving, right? Everything he's doing is to make himself forget about the past that he had with his master. And then he's also, like, let's say, burying his master into that big, strong pyramid that represents his greatness and his power, right? And so he's trying to repress this hope and this innocence and love that he had as a child, kind of to convince himself that that never existed and that that is not true. And of course, Shu tries to revive the hope, to keep the light in those children's eyes, and Kenshiro, of course, tries to preserve that as well. So 𝚎𝚎 is trying to do that. So he fights against love and Kenshiro for love. Here's how I precisely think, let's say, these two characters are mirrors of each other. I think Kenshiro has his personality and 𝚎𝚎 has his. And Kenshiro's personality would have been much better if he experienced what 𝚎𝚎 experienced, and vice versa. So briefly, I don't want to go too much into details, but briefly, things that we may have said too, is that Kenshiro is essentially not very conflict-oriented. So we said this before, right? For a long time he didn't kill anyone, and he would struggle to kill people. He's not very confrontational. And then he goes through hell and blah, 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 right? He just wanted to have a calm life with 𝚎𝚎. But then he had to really take this responsibility and be the savior. Now 𝚎𝚎 is the opposite. It seems that from the beginning 𝚎𝚎 is very attached and can really confront and fight for what he believes in. In the beginning he just wants to please his master. Then when he kills his master, he doesn't believe in love, and he proves that he's right. If 𝚎𝚎 was in the place of Kenshiro, then from the beginning he would have been a very good candidate for the Hokuto Shinken if he believed as such in the code of the Hokuto Shinken and just fought for it. And Kenshiro would have been great in 𝚎𝚎's place, because what Orgai, so 𝚎𝚎's master, tells 𝚎𝚎 is that he just has to accept it. It's fine, right? He's just strong, he has to become the emperor, he doesn't need to have that much compassion. And as submissive and accepting as Kenshiro is, maybe he wouldn't have ended up the way 𝚎𝚎 ended up. So what you can see in this duel is how each would have avoided all the problems that they encountered in the other one's place. And so this is, I believe, the way they complete each other, and the way, thanks to Kenshiro, how Souther gets to understand what's the point of love, because Kenshiro is a man who never gave up and always fought for love despite of the problems. And Kenshiro also gets to have empathy for this man as he understands what happened, because he feels that love as well, and he knows that Souther had so much love, and he says it at the end, right, that he's the man who had the greatest love. But then he can see that because of what he endured, then he ended up that way. And so he can understand him. It's basically how Kenshiro could have ended up if he suffered the wrong fate, because really Souther really suffered a horrible fate. But Kenshiro went through hell, but then he's still fine, right? He didn't suffer the worst fate. So these are the main things I wanted to say. And the last thing that I'm not going to develop here, because this is something that we really get in the next episode, it's Souther's secret. So if you know it, I'm not going to mention it here, but what's Souther's secret? That, right? And then just put Kenshiro in front and imagine that it's a mirror, right? And so that is the meaning of Souther's secret. The fact that he has such deep love, but that this extreme love of his makes it so that he can't take it. He cannot act upon it. He can't resist to let's say the manifestations, the implications of such love. And so he becomes such a twisted character, an antagonist, of course. So that's kind of the meaning of Souther's secret. And Kenshiro sees all of that, of course, and then you have this mutual completion from these two characters, and still Kenshiro's evolution and progression still at this point in the anime.